Mentira fue la tarde tu pasado. Mentira fue la tarde tu pasado.
Dan, you got some weird sound going through on your
What's going on there? Am I right now? I was on mute there for a bit.
Yeah, I don't know what's
the music kind of.
Yeah, I don't
got
know
a little
why
funky for a minute.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening because it's not on my end. Well,
must be something to do with the Dolphins' defense last week.
Oh, I'm hearing I'm hearing a delay. I'm hearing a delay. Hold on.
Could be that Dolphins defense on delay too tonight. We'll see. Are we live now? We're live, Justin. You need to figure out these technical difficulties. The viewers did not come here for a delay.
I hear everything we just said. I'm hearing it like in my ears, like 15 seconds after we said it, and it's just throwing me off. And it's coming through your thing.
When I go to my, let's see, camera mic settings, camera audio, I'm speaking through the Yeti speakers, the AirPods. That's just from. Let me go. Did this help at all?
Go on, try it now.
Back to the Yeti here. How did that work?
Yeah, that's better. I don't know what that was.
I can
so
sync.
We're gonna take it from the top again. Look, we have one viewer.
Back in sync here.
We're never gonna get this perfect. I don't even know what that was, but that was weird.
that was a Ryan Fitzpatrick interception for pick 6 tonight. Is what that might have been.
That's exactly what that was. All right, we're gonna. I'll just put the intro music in after during the edits, but this is a disaster. All right.
Well, not a problem. Hey, we'll fix it for our podcast listeners, but for those watching it live, let's go, buddy.
Yeah. All right, yeah.
Where were we kicking off? Thursday night football here. It's time to talk some football.
I got to intro it in, Dan. All right, so this is In the Money DFS podcast. My name is Justin, as always, and I'm joined by Dan once again. We're always having issues, but we're here, Dan.
We're here. Hey, we're still troubleshooting. That's what happens when you don't have a preseason. You know, you and I dove right into the NFL season pretty much. So, you know, they're just like those injuries in the NFL where we're having some technical difficulties in the beginning. But once we get going, man, it's like a freight train. You got to watch out. It's like Dak and Zeke coming at you hot. And that's what's happening right now. So excited, Justin, man. You know, what do we tell our listeners last week? You got to be patient a little bit. Week 1 was a little bit slow. DFS is full of ups and downs. I'm coming off a hot week, buddy. You know, probably I won my money back that I lost week 1. It's already paid for this week. It was pretty profitable.
We like that. We like to hear that. And I also did pretty well in my cash games. Could have been better, but I'm taking what I learned again. I'm making progress on what I learned, and you know, never stop improving. I'm never just gonna stay with the same process. Going to take some notes of why I missed some players last week and what went wrong there, and then improve on it. That's all it is. We're slowly improving. You improved on your week 1 performance, made the money back, and that's what matters. We got some people in the money, and that's what we like to see, the green.
That's you got to grind. The listeners got to be patient for the whole season here and grind it out. Last week I lost money. I was up front with you. The picks, they were off. I had some good picks, but in DFS in those tournaments, you can't have 3-4 bad plays or you're toast. Last week, Million Maker, 250,000 plus entries. I finished 555. $20 contest won me $200, and I was about 39 points away from that $1 million prize. And Dak, Zeke, Jonathan Taylor, Mike Evans, they were hot for me. Cooper had a solid game. Jordan Reed at a very valuable $2,600 price last week. Aaron Jones went off. It was only Paris Campbell because that knee injury. Nothing worse than having a guy go out with a knee injury so he doesn't even get the chance to score. And your Dolphins defense, Justin, come on, man. I was thinking of you taking that defense as a valuable punt play there. It didn't happen.
Hey, regardless, man, you made the money.
That was good.
Charles Barkley's also a fan of that. My Twitter at Justin_FFB. Yours is at FF Coach Dan. The podcast Twitter's at InTheMoneyDFS_. And we got to get into the Thursday night slate showdown. My Dolphins versus the Jaguars for the live stream viewers. You can see this on YouTube. And then, I'm going to do a nice little editing job, get it back for the podcast afterwards. But what do you have in store for us tonight on this slate, Dan?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I am excited for the Dolphins and the Jaguars tonight. I know some people might see that as an uneventful Thursday night football game, but when you play DFS, I don't think any game's uneventful. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a high score game tonight. I mean, we got a 44 over under. I could see it going a little bit over that. And
48 now.
Unfortunately, that's right. It spiked. I got to update my show notes here. 48 now. And I think that's going to be close. I think that's more. I think that the line opened up at 44, and that's what I was looking at there. So I think they adjusted accordingly. There is going to be some points put on the board. And I apologize, Justin, but I think the Jags win tonight. And for DFS, I know you and I are both saying it's Visca night, which I agree to an extent, but I don't think he's going to win the big, deep tournaments there. I'm hot on Keelan Cole, man. Even though it's been a roller coaster for me, I feel like this is a Corey Davis, Sammy Watkins type pick. Is like 1 year Keelan Cole is a sleeper, and then he's terrible, and you're dropping him in your dynasty leagues. And then this year he's relevant again, and he's Gardner Minshew's number one guy. DJ Chark is out. So if any of our listeners don't know, and you have DJ Chark on any lineups, I had to do that tonight, Justin. I had to go back to my Monday to Thursday night slate and just remembered in time before the show started to get Chark out of those lineups. And then obviously I took him out of any lineups for just tonight's single entries or, single game slate. But I'm liking Keelan Cole as a nice captain pick there. Love Gardner Minshew like everyone does. I think Chris Conley's a good value if you need a pump play.
Gross.
He's super cheap. He's going to start now because of Chark being out.
I'm telling you.
I'm not saying I like him, but if you need a value.
So I agree with you. The Jaguars should win this game. They're also wearing teal jerseys tonight, so be on the lookout for that. Big jersey guy, and I'm excited to see what these are going to look like on TV. And that's one of the reasons why they're going to be the Dolphins. Dolphins are going to be overwhelmed by the coolness and how the jersey looks. So Dolphins are going to be playing from behind most of this game, I'd like to imagine. I mean, they're a competitive team because Brian Flores gets them all hyped up and they can perform well. But if you're telling me you got Keelan Cole in the captain spot and they're going to have most likely positive game script, I'm going with the beast of a tight end who doesn't even line up next to the line of scrimmage. And Mike Gesicki, baby. He had his amazing game last week, 11 targets, target leader in that offense. And they're going to be playing from behind. I think Mike Gesicki's going to expand on what he did on Sunday and put up over 150 yards tonight and get you a touchdown. That's a bold.
Over 150.
Hey, over 150. That's what we need. We got boldness, and you need to have narratives to win this money, Dan. I said last week was a John Ross narrative. Did it work out? No, but if it did, I would have. I didn't put it in because I put one in, but I lost. But what are you gonna do, John Ross? I mean, that game was a disaster. We're not gonna talk about that. But Mike Gesicki, and also having Keelan Cole in the same lineup. So Myles Gaskin, I know JB likes Myles Gaskin a lot. So you're shaking. Yeah, he's not. I mean, I'm not a big fan. Like he's all right, but yeah.
I'm still like holding on to that bad relationship with Jordan Howard and like my punt plays tonight. Like if you just need to go like way GPP to your multi-mass entering 550 or 150 lineups there. I like Jordan Howard, especially in FanDuel. Jakeem Grant's another just dart throw punt play for me. Just a couple of guys I've talked about in the preseason, Justin, where Jordan Howard came into the season in great shape. Now he's been terrible. And I mean, we're talking fantasy football and logic here. I agree with you. Myles Gaskin's getting more touches, so I don't want our viewers to think I haven't watched football in 2 weeks. I have. But, game script changes. We don't know how they practice during the week. I would like to think, they invested in Jordan Howard and they're going to try to get him involved tonight, or maybe he even poaches a couple goal line touches, possibly. Goal line,
No.
So punt plays, dart throws, tournament, Jordan Howard, Jakeem Grant, Chris Conley, but big picks. I agree with Gesicki as being a guy. I just think Gesicki and Visca are going to be so chalk tonight that I want to talk about Keelan Cole like I did. I also like Mr. Robinson, man. He is looking legit, especially in FanDuel, but even in DraftKings. James Robinson's a guy there. Yeah, you're showing the lineup. Yep. Where's Mr. Robinson at the end?
Cole, Gaskin, Minshew, Robinson, Chenault. Book it. That's a money maker.
I think Gaskin's the key to that, man. He's got to get the touches he's been getting and maybe even build on it a little bit tonight. And you may have something because you're definitely onto some hot plays, and Gaskin will be key for you there. I hope you're wrong. Not that I don't want you to win money, because I do, but I'm still holding on to Jordan Howard close to my heart.
You got that take lock, Dan. We gotta get rid of take lock. Jordan Howard is dust.
That's
I don't
true.
even know why they signed him. And Matt Breida, I have take lock with him, but not anymore. They're not going to use him. So I think it's the Myles Gaskin show, which is funny to believe. But that's like the brief rundown of the slate. So now
watch Breida break one.
I mean, as a Dolphins fan, I would not be upset about that at all. So now we gotta reel it back in, Dan. Back to the podcast.
I'm excited. My bad.
It's excited, yeah. Excited for a weird Thursday night game, but it should be a good one and should be entertaining to watch. Now, week 3 is among us. We're about to be there. But brief review for week 2 to the listeners. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Dan, any of your hits that you wanna tout?
I was really hot on the tight end train last week. I mentioned Jordan Howard there, or Jordan Reed, sorry, in the pre-show. You got me on Jordan Howard kick.
Big Jordan Howard.
Last week, Jordan Reed at 2,600 was hot. Jonnu Smith, been hot on Jonnu all preseason going into the last 2 weeks. So I was proud of Jonnu breaking one big. Mike Evans, Aaron Jones hit big for me last week. They were good picks. I was a little bummed on Paris Campbell.
Yeah, well, you can't. That's not. I'm not counting that as an L. You can't count that as the L. The process was there. Don't let that hurt you. You can't control a player's injury. Unfortunate, because we did like Paris Campbell last week.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Last week was probably will be one of my best weeks of the season, because even the guys that didn't hit for me, the process was still there. Like I had T.Y. Hilton. He didn't have a big game, but he dropped a bomb. Like Rivers put everything he could into his wet noodle to hit Hilton deep, and he drops it. And then I had another lineup with Russell Gage and Julio Jones, and Atlanta caused a trick play, which was good for my Cowboys, that Hall of Famer Julio Jones dropped the ball, but Gage hit him on the money. That would have been a huge play. And unfortunately, Julio dropped it. So it was a weird week for some, and that's how fluid DFS could be and how it could shift your lineups. You'd lose those drop touchdowns, and they're game changers. But overall, man, it was a good week. The tight ends had a couple big plays between Aaron Jones and Evans. The Cowboys stack was clutch. It didn't disappoint by any means in that wild game there at Atlanta.
Yeah, the Cowboy stack you had there, I mentioned. I didn't list that, but I was agreeing with you. Mitch Bortles and cash did actually work a little bit. It wasn't great, but it helped you get those bigger plays with Aaron Jones and all that. Ryan Tannehill, I mentioned him as a good play, and he delivered. That game was way more entertaining than it should have been. And, of course, my favorite play last week at quarterback was Mr. Kyler Murray, and he's looking stellar this year, so didn't miss on that. Running backs, Zeke got vultured, unfortunately, but he still had good signals, and I'm not going to fade away from him, even though he's expensive and probably going to be chalky this week. Jonathan Taylor, smash, and he's going to be in my thing again. Derrick Henry, a miss. Miles Sanders. What happened to Miles Sanders, Dan? What did he do?
He's trending up here, buddy. He's trending up.
His wide receivers, I didn't do that great. CeeDee Lamb, I hit on that. Paris Campbell, of course, got hurt. Devontae Adams got hurt as well. Corey Davis got a touchdown for you. MVS, he had a decent week as well, so nice little play there. But this week, I realized my wide receiver plays have been iffy so far, and I am insulted by myself for giving the people poor wide receiver plays. I think goodness Dan's picking it up. I mean, week 1 I had the DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley thing, so that worked out well. But this week I'm coming back to the brass tacks. It's an odd number week. I think I'm better with odd numbers, and it's going to be a good week. Jordan Reed, of course, successful as well in tight ends, and defense is not great. But this week there's a cheap one that I like. So without further ado, let's get into week number 3, Dan. Quarterbacks, what you got for us?
Man, the gunslingers, there are 3 I love this week, and that concerns me that I love them so much, and all 3 of them are going to be chalk. So I think I'm going to have 3 strong lineups, handmade lineups configured with Russ Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Dak Prescott. But I think a lot of America is. So my other picks at running back, receiver, tight end are going to be critical. But they are definitely my 3 favorites. I'm not going to shy away from it just because they're chalk. But my eyes are also on 1 to 3 other guys right now at this point in the week. Definitely Cam Newton. I've been high on Cam in the preseason. He looked great 2 weeks in a row. I don't expect that to change this week at 6,700, a nice price. I say Cam Newton's going to stay hot. And I'm just keeping a little bit of an eye on Matthew Stafford and Big Ben. They're a little bit on the radar right now, just to give the listeners, I'm looking at like Stafford playing back versus Arizona. I think that's going to be a high score. You get a lot of savings with Stafford at 6,300. Big Ben at 6,400. It's a really good price. And then they're playing the Texans. Pittsburgh's at home. Again, I'm not sure where I'll land at the end of the week, but right now, 100% Russ, Kyler, Dak, and Cam, and then kind of eyeing up some other guys just to get off the chalk.
I like that. So Kyler Murray is the play of the week, and they have the highest team implied total this week, along with Seattle, who's tied for 30.25 points. But you saw what Kyler Murray's been doing. He's giving you a nice little rushing floor every week, and he looks almost unstoppable. Detroit sucks. Sorry, Mitch, but they suck. They're not good at all, and they're giving up a lot of points. So I think that it's a great play for Kyler Murray again. It's 5.5 point favorites. That's a little tongue twister right there. So I like to see a team favored and high team implied total, which means you're going to score some points. Cameron Newton. I don't call him Cam anymore. He's Cameron Newton. I mean, you were on him on the offseason. I was on him on the offseason. $6,700, $100 cheaper than Kyler Murray. So I like playing him too. Las Vegas, bad defense, having to travel from Las Vegas all the way to the East Coast to play this week on a short week. Cam's going to expose him. And Cam looked pretty good last week. And they're also 6-point favorites with the 8th highest team implied total. And Dan, you mentioned some cheaper options. You have Matthew Stafford. I'm staying away. Ben Roethlisberger. I'm staying away. I'm going with the kid. Great first name, Justin Herbert. What a guy. 5,900, man. Hey, he started last week. He looked good. He's starting this week. Carolina's defense is booty. And it's just not good. The bottom 4 DVOA. So I think Justin Herbert, you can get some sneaky little, maybe Keenan Allen stack because you did target him pretty heavily. So quarterback, pretty self-explanatory. You're going to play Kyler, Cameron, and Russ. Some Dak in there, of course, Dan. You got to have some Dak in there. It's the highest total on the entire slate. Now, wide receivers, how you getting these edges? You mentioned that you have these edges because you're playing these quote-unquote chalky quarterbacks, which I don't think is a bad thing because if you don't have the chalky quarterback, if you didn't have Dak Prescott last week or Matt Ryan or Kyler, you weren't really winning money. So you have to have the chalky quarterback. It's not a bad thing to have a chalky quarterback because if they're going to score a lot of points, it's got a high over-under, you're going to get points from them. These is where, like you mentioned, you're going to make the differences is in the wide receivers and running backs. So who do you got for wide receiver?
Yeah, I think the key is we got to get the receiver right, especially all those stacks of those teams that have multiple receivers. Justin, you mentioned Lincoln Ridley week 1. You probably should have stood on him week 2, and I should have got more of him week 2. Instead, I was a little more on Julio, and I had some Gage in there and more Cowboys receivers. Ridley, more shares of Ridley would have been nice than I had last week. So this week, as you look at those stacks, I'm really loving Nuke Hopkins this week. And that's what's leaning me towards Kyler Murray because I don't think anyone in Detroit is going to be able to cover Nuke Hopkins. They haven't been able to cover anybody all year, and I don't think anything's going to change that. So I love Nuke. And then in that Seattle game versus my Cowboys, I'm really trying to wrap my mind around this. Last week I expected them to beat Atlanta, and they squeezed that out with Lady Luck on their side. This week, man, how do you beat Russ Wilson? Like, Russ just looks awesome right now. But I think the key is Lockett or Metcalf. And I am liking Tyler Lockett, knowing my Dallas secondary best. I think the better matchup is in the slot versus Jordan Lewis for Lockett versus Metcalf, who's going to be on the outside. And I really like Trevon Diggs, man. He's gotten beat a few times in the early weeks, but he's getting beat by like inches. Like I think he's like one step away from getting some interceptions or at least some pass deflections. So I'm leaning a little more towards Lockett than Metcalf, if that helps our listeners kind of separate those. And then I'm still wrapping my mind around Cooper, Gallup, Lamb, which is the way to go. I love Lamb. And I even like, Gallup at 5,500, Lamb at 5,400 might be a little bit more of a value, but me and my boy Amari. So that's good. I like all those Cowboys receivers. Outside of the Dallas and Atlanta and Nuke, those chalky stacks that we talk about. Your boy N'Keal Harry there at 4,200 is tempting. With Cam, expected to have a good game versus Detroit and that secondary being bad. I think you like that one. So that's good. And I got a punt of the week in KJ Hamler at 3,000 now with he kind of flashed a little bit in the last game and Cortland Sutton's injured. So that's interesting. I hate to say I like your boy A-Rob possibly because I am anti-Bears, but they're playing who's the Bears playing there? The Atlanta Falcons, who we know secondary is trash. And T.Y. Hilton at 5,600, man. I'm thinking he's going to be mad after dropping a touchdown last week. There's some value there. I might go back on Mike Evans again. is another tempting pick. So there's some of the guys I'm on this week. There's some other maybe deep sleepers I'm not sure if I'm on or off, but the guys I listed will definitely be in some lineups this week.
That's a solid rundown right there, Dan. Solid rundown. I like Hopkins as well, 7,900. I'm okay with stacking that with Kyler. Terry McLaurin, I'm never going to fade this man. Every single week he's been in my wide receivers, Dan, and then I'm not shying away. This week, 5,900. I mean, Washington football team, their target share is mainly Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, and that's really it. So they have a consolidated target. So he's in Houston's secondary is not that good. It's just not. They're underdogs, 6-point underdogs, negative game script. He's top 15 in weighted opportunity rating, air yards. He's gonna get the targets, man. So I'm just gonna play Terry McLaurin there. Deontay Johnson, Father Son Fantasy Football Podcast was on him this offseason, 5,400. Still not priced appropriately. He is fourth in the league in hog rate, which is targets per snap. 23 targets on the year to Juju's 14. He's also top 10 in weighted opportunity rating, ahead of Terry McLaurin. And Big Ben loves him too. I'm not saying Juju's bad. I think they both can eat. It's just, it's an A-B Juju situation from a couple of years ago. You mentioned CD Lamb. This is a game you have to target as a 56-point over-under. If you don't target it, you're messing up. I'm going to have one lineup where I have Russell Wilson. I have CD Lamb at 5,400. He's number one in the league in slot snaps. And let me tell you, Seattle, worst team against the slot so far. Most yards and targets allowed to slot wide receivers. So CeeDee Lamb looks really good. I'm happy. I love my boy CeeDee Lamb. He's my boy, even though it's on the Cowboys. So, he's also your boy now by default. But you were a Jerry Jeudy guy. I'm not going to have people forget this. You were a Jerry Jeudy guy. I was like, CeeDee Lamb's the guy. Now your turn to the good side. Welcome to the good side, Dan. But the super stack, there's super stack. It's Russell Wilson. It's DK Metcalf, who you mentioned, Tyler Lockett, and CeeDee Lamb. You counter stack it back. You got to have this DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson stack. It's not a bad idea because Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, have the highest air yard market share among any wide receivers in the league. At 81.7% of Seattle's air yards go to either Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf. Second highest is 76%. So they're higher than average. And I mentioned the consolidated target that go to Washington. Well, it's even more consolidated here in Seattle. So fire them up. It's going to be a high-scoring game. And I think the Cowboys are going to lose, but it's going to be a close game. I'm sorry, Dan. Trevon Diggs, though. I do like Trevon Diggs as a Stephon Diggs favorite player in the NFL. His brother was a wide receiver, turned cornerback, had some drops, but he's going to get one soon. So I do like that call right there. N'Keal Harry, of course he's on my list. He's not going to not be on my list. 12 targets, but I hope that he gets in the goal line because it looks like he's allergic to the end zone. I don't understand what's going on. He's got to get some new allergy medicine because he literally is just allergic to the end zone. I don't understand what's going on over here with N'Keal Harry. It's making me upset. You mentioned T.Y. Hilton as a bounce back candidate. I do love that play, but I think that if you need someone cheaper, it's $4,000. It's Michael Pittman Jr., who actually led Indianapolis in routes run last week. So he's a sneaky little option right there. And that's the wide receivers I'm going with. But Deontay Johnson, CeeDee Lamb, Metcalf/Lockett. Dan says Lockett because he knows his team better. So I'm going to take your word with that, Dan. I was on Metcalf, but you're saying Lockett. So I'm coming to find you if I don't win some money because of this play. But I think you're both going to eat in this game. So wide receivers, I'm confident this week. Last week, I'm not going to lie to the people. Wasn't that confident, Dan. But this week, I'm confident. Now, running backs. Play of the week, Miles Sanders.
You look forward to the running back segment of the show every week, don't you? Just to say Miles Sanders. Like you could say that and not have any other commentary for the rest of the show, and you would be good.
I'll definitely be okay with that. But boy, oh boy, 7 targets last week. No Jalen Reagor. Depleted wide receiver corpse per usual is the Eagles. He looks good in the passing game. Dominated snap share. Dominated the carries in the running back backfield. Doug Peterson committee. Remember when that was a thing? Oh, that was the worst narrative I've ever heard in my life all offseason. And now he gets Cincinnati. You saw what Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt did in the last Thursday night football game. So, hey, it's happening. Miles Sanders, chalk, he's 6,400. I don't care. I'm paying for him. But that's what I wanted to say before you had to say anything about running backs. But who do you got at running back?
Well, hey, you broke down Miles really well for me. Alshon Jeffrey's even practicing. I don't know if Alshon will be back, but if the Eagles get a little bit healthier and Miles is getting his groove, you got to love that pick. So spot on there, Just. Guys, I like it. And I'll start with the chalk. I'm kind of looking at Zeke at 8,300. I think Kenyon Drake's a nice value at 6,000, as is Miles at 6,400. You got a nice cheap play in Jerick McKinnon at 4,900 there in San Francisco, and I think he's kind of the only guy. Derrick Henry is a bounce back candidate. I like that he kind of flopped on
about
us.
the McKinnon
What's
thing.
that?
Yeah, Henry did flop. McKinnon, they're also saying Jeffrey Wilson is going to get some work in there. And it's not just going to be a McKinnon show. So he's another guy to keep an eye on if you want to diversify even more. But I do like the McKinnon call. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, Wilson's a good guy. I mean, he's always been Mr. Preseason for San Francisco. When he's had the opportunity to get some carries in the season, he's done well. So I think he'll definitely get some touches because McKinnon's not a guy that can't handle like a heavy bell cow type workload. But I think McKinnon definitely between carries and receptions is going to get 20 plus touches and is probably going to find the end zone for San Francisco at a great price. And then I was mentioning Derrick Henry. Again, I just think people might be off him a little bit more than they were a week ago, and Minnesota's terrible. So I think Henry could be in for a big game. I'm still kind of hanging on Antonio Gibson every week at 4,700. I went back to him last week, and he was better. I'm watching the Washington game a little bit. It's just Washington's bad. That's the only problem right now. But I'm waiting for him to break one off. So he's still on the radar. Eckler, maybe, as you mentioned, your boy Herbert there at quarterback, and I did take a note on that, by the way. I'm adding him into my quarterback list there to look at.
Look what I did. There we go. Yeah, Dan.
You're in my head. You're in my head, man. So I think Eckler might be back on the radar. Jonathan Taylor, I know we touched on, is just being relevant, and at 7,000, he could be a stud again. Uncle Lenny, my basketball partner, Leonard Fournette, I think he's the man in Tampa Bay. So I'm just keeping an eye on him. So I got to see where I'm going to go. I don't want to take all the chalk guys. It's very easy to go Zeke, Drake, Miles. But what I'm kind of noticing's working is you got to get off the chalk somewhere. And it's just a matter of where to get off it and who to get on. So there are a lot of the guys I'm looking at. James Conner woke up last week. That was an interesting play. I'll keep an eye on him again as well. And last one probably is Mixon at 5,900. Maybe even Chris Carson in that Dallas shootout there. He might be the hidden gem in that game. That's my running back likes for this week, and we'll break it down as we go. Oh, I forgot punt play. Mike Davis. I got to give like a punt play at every play. 5,100 Carolina. He was the only guy behind McCaffrey last week. He had like 8 catches, a bunch of yards. They're going to target him. They're going to be throwing. I think Mike Davis is the only legitimate running back there. What do you mean, no? Who else is there in Carolina?
On the final drive, they targeted him 8 times. He's a check down guy. But, I mean, I'm staying away from that. I'm going DJ Moore if I want to go to that game. But I like the Gibson play. I like that. And now, you basically touched on every single running back on the slate, Dan. I'm just going to go back over and give it. So it's this guy I like a lot also. His name is Miles Sanders. There it is. Yep. We got to get the Miles Sanders. You got to have him in the lineup. There he is. All right. Now, for real, though, Jonathan Taylor, he's going against his team called the Jets. All right. That's all I should say. 11-point favorites. Like, you don't need to do much more. Lock him in your lineup. He's guaranteed 20 points plus. Kenyon Drake, I'm surprised you said that, but I'm not really surprised because I know Dan Smart this DFS thing. So good call on that. 6,000. Detroit's defensive line is awful. Awful. Drake had 64% of the carries last week, and that's more than what Nick Chubb had in their respective backfields as well. So I believe it's a get-right game for Kenyon Drake, facing 2 tough defensive fronts his first 2 games with San Francisco and Washington. Punt play of the week. I mean, you said, well, not punt play. I want to talk about contrarian play. Chris Carson, he could be a key factor in that game, so I like him as a nice option to throw in to your lineups just to mix it up a little bit. But Joshua Kelly, you can go Austin Eckler. I'm going Joshua Kelly, 5,000. Carolina's trash. Chargers are probably going to be up by a decent amount. This means more carries. 52% of the snaps last week, Joshua Kelly had 23 carries, and he also had 2 targets. They're also 6.5-point favorites. Like I mentioned, positive games here. So Joshua Kelly at 5K is a nice little lower-owned, lower-cost running back. Don't mind him. And then I like what you mentioned about Mixon. I hope Mixon can get right. I hope he can get right. I mean, he should get right. I hope he does. I'm a big Mixon fan at heart, but I'm probably not going to play a lot of them, but it's good to have you doing multiple lineups to have one lineup that consists of Mr. Joe Mixon. Now on to tight ends. I mean, I want to talk about you have your boy Dalton Schultz in the lineup.
He's definitely on there. I want to call a timeout first, though. I got to ask you a question before we get to tight ends because it's a shorter category there. So we talked about a lot of plays that we like at the key positions there, and there's certain stacks we like. Maybe I should save this for the stack portion, but I just want to talk about one game that we haven't talked about at all. And I don't like it for DFS right now because I think they have good secondaries, good defenses, but the Rams at the Bills, like they are 2 awesome offenses. Like, could that just be a game that everybody's sleeping on? No one's talking about it because you and I did not mention one Ram or one Bill, and they're all studs on that offense, and they're going against each other. And I could just see them scoring points despite the good defenses.
So Buffalo's implied team total is 25. The Rams' implied team total is 22. Both relatively low according to top teams. But Buffalo, I'm not going to – I said it last 2 weeks. Josh Allen, he's always in play right now. He's got an easy first half of his schedule. He's got momentum. Stephon Diggs looks good. It's not a bad idea to do it. I mean, Dan, we didn't talk about it yet because the stack portion is coming up, Dan. The stack portion's coming up. I have a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs.
To be continued. To be continued.
To be continued. That's a shh. Viewers are gonna learn about this one soon, but yeah, I mean that game's interesting. I want to know Darrell Henderson. He's gonna be the only guy there, and if you want a cheap option, I believe he's under 4,800. I'm trying to look right now to try to find him. I didn't have him written down, but I did like what I saw on the stat line. I think he had over 100 scrimmage yards last week, so he's not a bad play. Oh, here he is, 5,400. That's a contrarian play right there. I'm not going to have any cash lineups. I'm a cash guy. You're a GPP guy. You playing Darrell Henderson in any GPPs this week?
I don't even have a Ram or Bill on this list, but I did highlight that game. So when we get to the stack attack, I'm just there's going to be one Rams Bill stack somewhere in my contest just to have some volume on that game.
Sounds good.
Let's get to the tight ends.
Tight ends. My guy. Or your guy. Let's see if you have. We've had some crossover these last two running backs, wide receivers. You go first. I want to hear what you got here.
All right. So my tight end list is definitely shorter. I am going to keep going to the well until it doesn't work with Jonnu Smith at 5,200. He will never not be on my list until he is priced up at like tight end 1. Then I might take a little break. We'll see. So I'm still loving Jonnu.
It's a cash play.
Because of the matchup, I still like Logan Thomas. Not as much as past weeks, but he's still pretty cheap there, I believe. Where's Logan here?
3,700.
Yeah, he is 3,700. So at that price, I still like him. I like his matchup. I'm going to keep on Logan. And then like TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, 5,300, 5,400 respectively. I think they're guys that you just can't avoid. They're both looking really good this year. Second year breakout tight ends. Dalton Schultz that we talked about, he looked well. And, you know, I'm a little mad I don't have more Dalton Schultz on my dynasty lineups and I didn't take more of them.
You can get him in a league if you want to.
Defenses, well, it depends how high your price tag is. I mean, he doesn't have the breakout plays that Blake Jarwin does. He's not a fast guy, but he's kind of more like a Jason Witten. He's going to move the chains. He's going to get open, or like a Jack Doyle type, you know, in that offense where they're focusing on the receivers. So he's on the radar again. And then guys, that aren't my usuals. Jordan Reed, if Kittle is out, but I'm hearing Kittle, I don't know, he may or may not play. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one. Jordan Reed won me money last week, so I owe him. And then 3 new guys to my tight end list. Zach Ertz at 5,100. Hunter Henry's a little pricey for me at 6,800, but he's been looking good. And again, Herbert at quarterback kind of elevates everybody. And Drew Sample is my last one, man. There's my pump play of the week at 3,500 at tight end. Cincinnati really utilizes the tight end. Uzama looked really good. Sample came in there and they didn't miss a beat. They peppered him a lot. So at 3,500, that's a good value.
Taking notes off my sheet again. Dan, Drew Sample, 3,500, 9 targets, and he looks like Burrow is a fan of him. So I do like having Drew Sample in labs at 3,500. Logan Thomas, somehow still cheap. He should be priced a little higher. They're 5.5 point underdogs, like I mentioned before with McLaurin. So negative game script. He increased his snap share last week and also increased his routes run per drop back last week. 9 targets overall. Didn't really score a lot last week. People could be off him this week because he didn't put up the points last week, but the signals were there. He's the clear second option. He also had an end zone target last game. So Logan Thomas, I'm also going back to him. And a guy I put in GPP lineups that helped me make some money last week that I didn't mention on the podcast because I came around on him Saturday night. That's Mo Alley Cox. I'm going back to Mo Alley Cox, 3,800. He had a 100-yard game. He looked good. He looks a lot better than Doyle. They shouldn't even play Doyle over this guy. Are you a Jack Doyle guy? Yeah,
I'm not a Jack Doyle guy, but he's going to take away from Mo Alley Cox. He's going to get catches.
Mo Alley Cox needs to claim his dominance. He needs to go and pee on Jack Doyle or something like that. And Marcus Territories, this is my position. You got to tell Frank Reich what's up, man, because Jack Doyle is not good at football, in my opinion. I need Mo Alley Cox to go claim his dominance. How about that guy? Basketball player turned tight end.
Jack Doyle's good at football. He's just not good at fantasy football, unless it's like tight end
Which
premium.
is what
He
we
has those
care
big
about
big
right
games.
now.
True.
I believe the stat was Jack Doyle has like 30-something career starts and he has 100-yard game. And then Mo Alley Cox has 5 career starts and 1 100-yard game. So,
But the problem is you can't start Mo Alley Cox this week over Logan Thomas or Drew Sample or Jordan Reed if Kittle was out, knowing that Jack Doyle's there.
Well, if Jack
At least
Doyle
that's my opinion. I mean, he's explosive. He could house one. You never know.
No. So Drew Sample, Logan Thomas, maybe 2 main plays, and keep monitoring Jack Doyle's status because that guy's always kind of hurt too. So be careful with that. Defenses, not doing the Dolphins this week. Thank goodness you're playing on Thursday night football. But the Eagles, Dan, I like in the Eagles 2,800. There's no way it should be that cheap because they're favored by 4.5 points, and I've never seen a team favored by 4.5 this cheap. They're not a good defense, but they're going against the Bengals, and you see how bad the Bengals offensive line is. You're shaking your head. That's 2,800. That's 2,800, Dan. I don't know what defense you're going to find for less than 20, like 3. They're going to be chalky too. That's the only thing. They're going to be pretty chalky. Yeah. But like that's a super cheap defense right there. 2,800 and their favorites. There's no other team. You want to play a Cowboys defense? No. So no. I like the Eagles.
I'm not that much of a homer. No Cowboys defense.
I also like paying up for the Colts. The Colts defense 4,100 against the Jets. The Jets are trash, 11-point favorites. It could be worth paying up for the Colts defense in this game. I want to know who you have here. I mean, there's one more, but I think you're going to say it. So I'll let you take the floor.
I think you were reading my notes there. So even though I'm shaking my head, the Eagles were on my note sheet there. I can't lie. I just think their defense has been brutal to start the season, and Cincinnati does have some offensive firepower. Burrow's been playing pretty smart. So I don't know if that one just excites me. But again, if you're looking to save money and you have to punt down a defense, the Eagles are the way to go. I would rather pay up a little bit this week, and I am liking the New England Patriots defense with Vegas traveling across the country, as you mentioned. And I like them because I don't think they're going to be chalky. I think people are going to be off them this week and looking elsewhere. Jacobs is a little bit beat up. It's a little bit of a beat up offense. I think they're just going to have a Monday night hangover, and they're playing in New England. I think New England's going to grind the ball and eat the clock. And I don't know. I just like them at 3,200. If I am paying up, I do have the Colts on my list, as you mentioned, although I'm a little scarred from week 1 when they burnt me. But I'm looking at them. And then I also have the Cleveland Browns at 3,800. Cleveland would be the 4th team on my list.
Minshew Mania, by the way. Minshew Mania is the reason why the Colts failed you week 1. Minshew Mania is a real thing.
Maybe. There's the Minshew magic got me. I'll give you that one. But I'm looking at Cleveland at home with some extra rest, with Washington traveling there, and Washington could, they don't have a lot of offensive firepower. That's an offense that I could see making mistakes, trying to stay in the game. And as I think about that even more, Cleveland or New England are probably going to be my top 2.
I'll also throw 2 more in there for you. In between the Cleveland and New England price tags is the Chargers and the 49ers, both favorites, both going against teams that have crappy offenses. Well, I don't think Carolina's offense is crappy, but Teddy Bridgewater hasn't really looked that great. But San Francisco's defense hurt, but still it's the Giants, and the Giants suck. So 3,500 for them, and Chargers 3,600, both favorites in that game. So I do like both those teams as well. So that's a couple of defensive options this week. I feel like it's more than we usually have. So I mean, you got your options open. Take what you want. But stack it up. Dan, who is the stack of the week for you?
Man, I'm just loving I keep going there every week. It's like Dallas and whoever they play. And every week's been a shootout. And when Dallas games are a shootout, I win money because I have Cowboys all over my lineup. And I think I'm going back to it this week. I do think and maybe it's a good sign for my Cowboys. I agree with you. Russ might be, maybe able to beat him, but I think Seattle is going to be a little bit more balanced with Chris Carson. I think Dak's going to have to pull his magic and score a lot of points again. I'm leaning towards a nice little Dak, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. I think Gallup's going to get a deep one because Seattle's been getting beat deep. Playing it back with Tyler Lockett, who I think will be the guy for Seattle. And then, I got to fill in the rest of the lineup with some of these guys we were talking about tonight. And I'm also on a little stack with Kyler and Nuke. Maybe play back Marvin Jones and insert your best plays in with those guys. So I'll probably be building a lot of stacks around those 2 lineups, those 2 games. And then, as we talked about a little bit earlier, just like a sleeper GPP, that Rams-Buffalo game that no one's going to talk about and no one's on. That just might be a sneaky one. Houston-Pittsburgh might be a sneaky one too, with Deshaun Watson versus Big Ben. But the main 2 I started with. What do you got, my man?
So I mentioned the Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, CeeDee Lamb, running back with CeeDee Lamb. quadruple stack, game stack, whatever you want to call that. That's the DraftKings super duper stack. We love the super duper stacks. All about the super duper stacks. But Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. It's a sneaky one. It's not great, but I think Josh Allen loves his man, Stephon Diggs. My favorite player in NFL. I know my heart is with Miles Sanders, and he's my favorite running back right now. Well, also Barkley, too. May he recover, hopefully, fully. But there's a best stack. There's a really sneaky stack. It's not pretty, but it is pretty because it has someone named Miles Sanders in it. We got an Eagles triple stack coming, Dan. It's Carson Wentz. It's Miles Sanders. It's Deshaun Jackson. The triple GPP stack against the Bengals defense. That's going to hopefully win you some money right there. I mean, the Eagles got to do something, right?
Hey, that could be a nice playback with Tyler Boyd, who we didn't mention tonight, because A.J. Green's going to be covered by Darius Slay. So if you are stacking those Eagles and liking them, Tyler Boyd might be the guy to play back. So I'm going to make a little Boyd note here.
Look at that. Boyd note. Now, that's going to do it for us week 3. Technical difficulties. Again, Dan. I mean, it's probably on my end. It's on. I don't know what it is, but it's
just
okay.
A start.
It's just a start, but that's going to do it for us today. My Twitter, once again, at Justin_FFB. Dan's Twitter, at FFCoach. Dan on Twitter. Don't forget to ask us any questions. See where our head's at. Pick our brains. Why not? In the podcast Twitter, at InTheMoneyDFS_. Subscribe if you're new. We are on Google Podcasts now. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple. We're basically everywhere now. So we're out and about on YouTube as well. In the Money DFS podcast. Make sure you add in the word podcast. Live streaming 7:00 Eastern on there. And anything else you want to say before we get out here, Dan?
Hey, ready to go watch some Thursday Night Football? I was gifted some of the Rocks Terramana tequila today at work by a good friend. So I'm ready to enjoy some football and win some DFS cash tonight. Make sure you listen to us in the money. Hopefully we help you out like we did in week 2 and go Dolphins, maybe.
Fins up, baby. Fins up. All right, that's going to do it for us.